Good morning. This is Pastor Jason of Kona Faith Center with a word for today. And the word for today is instructions. In the God's Word translation of Exodus 39 and 40, it says, follow the Lord's instructions 16 times. It also says to inspect the work to see if the instructions of the Lord were followed. And then it says, bless those who follow the instructions of the Lord. This comports with the biblical principle that blessing follows obedience. There's a business principle that what gets inspected gets done and gets done well. So this opens up a deep well. Who is helping me to follow the Lord's instructions? Who's inspecting my work to make sure that I'm following the Lord's instructions? Who's inspecting my work to make sure that I'm following the Lord's instructions with excellence and with integrity? Who is then pronouncing and releasing the blessing of God for following the Lord's instructions? I want you to notice that the people that this was written about were the best artisans, were master craftsmen, were leaders of the people. If the most gifted, most talented, most creative, best leaders need people to help them follow the Lord's instructions, inspect their work, and pronounce and release the blessing of God in their lives, how much more do the people who are not the most gifted, talented, most creative, best leaders need people to help them follow the Lord's instructions, inspect their work, and pronounce and release the blessing of God in their lives? So what does this look like? I think it looks like a small group of people who really trust each other, who really know each other, that are purposely and intentionally transparent with a laser-like focus on discussing following the Lord's instructions, and that have a mechanism in place that allows the group to inspect the work. At Kona Faith Center, we would call that a discipleship group. Discipleship groups are the seventh buoy in our 8-buoy process. Everybody needs these peer-level relationships to follow the Lord's instructions with excellence and walk in the fullness of God's blessing. Now, there's a significant cost to being part of a discipleship group, but the return on investment is worth it. Engaging people in real ways to follow the Lord's instructions is the primary goal of my life. Now, I'm aware of some very successful ministers that participate in discipleship groups to help them follow the Lord's instructions. They are gifted, talented, creative leaders in my field, and the blessing of God seems to follow them at a very high level. In conversation, they always credit these discipleship groups as one of the major components of following the Lord's instructions. In reading about ministers that have moral failures, the one thing in common in their stories is that they didn't allow anyone to be in their lives to help them follow the Lord's instructions, and especially no one that inspected their work. I don't think most people have people in their lives to help them follow the Lord's instructions. And I certainly don't think most people have someone in their lives that they allow to inspect their work to see if they have followed the Lord's instructions with excellence and with integrity. How about you? How about me? By the way, I use the phrase follow the Lord's instructions 16 times in this word for the day. What does that speak to you? The word for today is instructions. God bless. Check in tomorrow.